Welcome back to Breakdown Monday, March 23rd, 2026. The tournament is down to 16, JJ.
16 is so sweet. There's 16 teams left.
Sweet 16.
Six of them are SEC, six of them are Big Ten, four are SEC.
Okay, we're going to talk Big Ten, SEC, and maybe mention a little bit of extra things in there as well. But let's review, JJ, a couple of games from the round one and round two. Basically, I want to do the SEC versus the Big Ten, which would be Nebraska versus Vandy and Iowa versus Florida. Recap those games. Which one was the most exciting game to you?
Between those two SEC Big Ten matchups, I would say Nebraska Vanderbilt was the most exciting.
Agreed.
It was played at a high level, much higher level than Florida Iowa. Honestly, there was a lot of missed shots in the Florida Iowa game, and it felt like Nebraska and Vanderbilt were making a lot of their shots, and that ending. It was a legendary, and it would have been a legendary ending had Tyler Tanner made that more than half court shot at the buzzer. It came so close. I've never seen a shot come that close to going in without going in.
You know what? From a 3-point from that far away, I don't think I have two. But Nebraska was a 4 seed.
They were a 4 seed.
Vandy was a 5 seed. It was an amazing game. Tanner for Vandy did all he could to win that game.
He put the S on his chest. He really did. He had multiple steals that led to fast break dunks.
Yeah.
At all 5-10 of them, he was able to get up there. He had scored in the 20s. He played good defense. Dished the ball well. I thought he really put the team on his back, but it just wasn't enough. He was an inch, maybe not even an inch.
I know that ball was in and out, but
centimeter too short.
Congratulations to Nebraska. They moved on to the Sweet 16, and that was Nebraska's second ever. What, JJ?
Ever win in the NCAA tournament.
Second ever win game that they won in the tournament, in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
How impressive is that, JJ?
Well, they came in having not won a game and left winning not just one but two. So I would say that is pretty impressive. I would say the most impressive thing was the way that the Nebraska fans took over Oklahoma City. It looked like that was Pinnacle Bank South. It was all red. So it's going to be interesting to see what Houston looks like, because the University of Houston is going to be playing there, but they're not as. I don't know if they have as much of a presence as Nebraska does, and things like this are becoming old hat for Houston. I don't think they have their sights necessarily set on the Sweet 16s as much as they do Final Fours. Obviously, they were the runner-up last year.
Well, for the Sweet 16, there are 3 Big Ten teams going to be in Houston, and 1 Big 12 team, namely Houston, going to be in Houston. But this is going to be Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois. All of them going to Houston, JJ, to party. I still think Houston's fans will dominate.
Yeah, no, I think Nebraska's fans will, honestly.
Okay.
I think it's going to be like what Indiana was for football, but Houston's hosting that corn party. Illinois, Nebraska, and Iowa. I can't think of 3 states with more corn. It's just going to be. It's going to be a time to be had there in Houston.
I think Houston is gonna do that one well, represent well. But JJ, the other one, from last weekend. Iowa taking down number 1, the only number 1 team to miss the Sweet 16, Florida. How did Iowa do it, JJ?
They made Florida play their game. The defending champs are out. Iowa, Bennett Stirts, he's going to be an NBA player. He's great, but he had one of his worst games of the season. He shot 5 for 16. He had 13 points. He was missing. He was 0 from 9 from 3. He was just off all night. But you know what? His supporting cast really stepped up. The guy who hit the game winner, the European guy whose name I can't pronounce. He had 14 points on efficient shooting. Ben McCollum. Winning is what he does. He won 10 straight district conference championships when he was at the D2 level.
Okay.
He won 2 straight championships at the D2 level. Went to Drake, won the Missouri Valley last year. Won a game in the NCAA tournament. this is his first year at Iowa. He's from Iowa City, Iowa. He's a homegrown boy. Took over Iowa and took him to the Sweet 16 for the first time this century. 1999 was the last time they made it. And
right on for the Big Ten, Iowa and Nebraska. JJ, let's talk about the Sweet 16 that starts on Thursday. 16 teams, JJ. 9 of those teams was there last year.
Yeah, a whole lot of and for the second year in a row, or I believe it is the second year in a row. There's no one from a lower or mid major conference. It's
Exactly.
all high major
All
conference.
power 4, power 5 or better.
Yeah, Big East for basketball
and this is
purposes.
the second year in a row.
Is
Second year in a row.
Yeah.
Is that the new norm, JJ?
No, I just want to say, but Big East is a power conference for basketball purposes.
Yeah. But no, is the fact that no mid-major or something like that, is it the new norm that we will not see those teams in the Sweet 16? 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing so many people transfer from mid-major schools. You know, they're transferring up. You know, you don't see a lot of them being able to retain the talent that they have.
Exactly.
So, but you still get the upsets in the first round. You know, you still have your high points of the world, and you still have your Drakes from last year and things like that. So you still get your upsets, but they're just not, for the most part, going so far. Having said that, it was 2-3 years ago that St. Peter's went to the Elite Eight.
Okay.
So it's not
But
not outside the realm of possibility.
That's true. I think it's going to become less frequent.
Yeah, the way NIL is set up and how easy it is to go recruiting other players. I definitely think that it will be less frequent.
Jason, we're going to talk about some of the games in the Sweet 16. We're not going to talk about all of them. We're going to hit at least 4, and if time permits, we might do 5 or 6. But let's start out, JJ, in the East.
Okay.
The matchup with Duke and St. John. None SEC team, none Big Ten team. Duke is 4-0 against the remaining teams that are in the Sweet 16, and St. John is 2-3 against the Sweet 16 competition that are there now. How do you see that matchup?
Oh man, I love this matchup. You have Zuby Ejiofor guarding Cam Boozer. That's
two of the premier big men.
Two of the premier big men, and Zuby Ejiofor is a very mobile big man. He's going to be able to stay with Cam, and he's a very stout big man as well. So he's not going to be able to back him down. I'm really looking forward to this, just from an NBA level, just to see how Cam Boozer matches up with someone of Zuby's stature, because he's going to see a lot of that in the NBA. So it's must see TV. It's also must see TV for me, just because Duke is probably the premier program in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
And they're going up against the greatest college basketball coach of all time, and everything but the accolades, because of the way things played out with his career and him going from Providence to Kentucky to the Celtics. He had to go give the NBA a tryout. He thought he was getting Tim Duncan. He did not end up getting Tim Duncan, but he thought that was at the time. So, he had a stint coaching the Knicks. He had a stint coaching the Celtics. Those didn't work out. He's not the greatest NBA coach of all time, but for my money, he's the best college coach of all time. So I can't wait. I'm gonna get my popcorn ready.
Duke is the number 1 overall seed and number 1 seed in the East, of course. St. John is the 5 seed. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah,
Duke or St. John?
Well, Duke is now Caleb Foster is still out. He's their starting point guard.
Yeah.
But
he was out when they were made the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, and Boozer stepped in admirably. He had a back-to-back 16-point games before having a little bit less than that against TCU. But even though Caleb Foster is out, the starting point guard, their starting center is available. Yeah. He made his presence known against TCU. He's a great passer, and that was on display specifically in the second half. And he was just too physical and too much of a presence for TCU to handle. So I think that Duke at full strength, I think that they would probably handle St. John's pretty comfortably, but because they are a little bit lessened, I think St. John's could win. I'm not going to go so as far as to say that they will, but
the game will be played in Washington, D.C.
It will be. That's a home game for Duke.
Okay. So given that, Be clear on who you're picking. So I'm clear.
Well, when I say it's a home game for Duke, like it would be a home game for Duke if it were just Duke versus St. John's, because it's going to be a site where there's going to be other teams with other tickets there.
Michigan State and UConn.
I have a feeling Michigan State. Well, so UConn might not be root for St. John's just because they're in the same conference and all that. But Michigan State will not be rooting for Duke, Okay. So, it should be about 50-50, I would imagine, to support.
As I said, Duke is 4-0 against the Sweet 16 competition. They beat Texas, they beat Michigan, they beat Michigan State, and they beat Arkansas.
And they got some favorable whistles along the way.
Okay, I'm just saying they're Arizona's only 5-0 teams I see. With the
Arizona's are legit.
Okay, St. John's is 2-3 against Sweet 16 competition. They lost twice. I'm sorry, they beat UConn twice. They lost once to UConn. Mm-hmm. They lost to Iowa State, and they lost to Alabama. They're 2-3. So let's look at the other game in Washington, D.C. Michigan State Spartans against the UConn Huskies. I believe these two teams played a preseason game where Michigan State lost that preseason game to UConn. Now they're going to hook up in the Sweet 16 where it really matters. Some of the key players for Michigan State, Jeremy Fears, is turning it up. Their whole team is very sound. UConn is 3-3 against Sweet 16 competition with losses to Arizona, St. John, and St. John twice. They beat Illinois, they beat Texas, and they beat St. John. How do you see the Michigan State-UConn game?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is exactly the 2C that Michigan State wanted to see, just because UConn, they went 2-1 again, or they went 1-2 against St. John's, and St. John's is a team that I think is a pretty decent facsimile for Michigan State. Okay. Michigan State does not shoot threes well, and neither does St. John's.
Right.
And St. John's didn't need to. St. John's was also coached by a legendary Italian guy. Same thing with Michigan State. But I just think that they have a physicality that UConn will struggle against. They struggle against it with St. John's, and Jackson Kohler, Cohen Carr, and Carson Cooper are going to, and Jeremy Fears are going to present a physicality that Alex Karaban and co are going to struggle with. So I do think that is favorable for Michigan State. Now, having said that, UConn still has a bunch of talent, and I think they are favored to win.
They are the favorite in this game, but your pick is Michigan State.
Yeah, I'll definitely pick Michigan State to cover.
What about the win?
That one's tougher, but I mean, solo ball has had an up and down. Just based on the way solo ball's been playing, I'm gonna say I'll go with Michigan State probably.
What would Michigan? Well, I'm going with Michigan State, but what would have to happen for Michigan State to lose this game?
No, well, solo ball would have to start playing the way like the way he knows how to play. You'd have to win the matchup point guards against Jeremy Fears. So I mean, if he can do that, I think UConn would probably.
Do you
cruise.
think he can do that?
Yeah, he absolutely can.
Okay.
On any given night, he absolutely can be the best player on the court. He just hasn't in the last couple of weeks. So it just depends. I mean, it really just depends.
Michigan State, to me, have been very, very solid offensively, defensively, rebounding. I mean, everything. I like their game, and they are known for March Madness is when they Coach Izzo produce. Man, it's I got Michigan State winning that game.
It's 4 straight Sweet 16s for Michigan State?
Yes, sir. Let's go to the West. Arizona and Arkansas. Arizona, as I said, they're 5-0 against the competition in the Sweet 16. Arkansas is 2-4. Arkansas has only defeated a 1 seed, JJ, 2 times in its history, and I can't remember those times. I think the latest one was maybe Kansas a few years back, a lot of years back. But anyway, Arizona is tall, they stronger, more physical than Arkansas. Does Arkansas have a chance? Arkansas started as an 8.5 point dog. They were down to 7.5 the last I looked. Do they have a chance?
Yeah, they have a chance. They're gonna have to have the best player on the court though, and they're probably gonna have two of the best three players on the court for that to happen. I mean, Brandon Burries, Cole Pete, they have it inside.
Arizona players.
Yeah, Arizona. I mean, those are just the freshmen. I mean, they have it on the interior, on the exterior. I mean, they are favored for a reason. I think that they're the favorites to win the entire tournament. With even though Duke came in as the number 1 overall seed, just with their injury situation, I think they're the favorites to win the entire thing. So, Michigan's backup point guard LJ Kaysen tore his ACL, so they're not at full strength either. Arizona they look healthy, they look dynamic, they look very, very good. Now they're not infallible. They can be beaten. They were beaten by Kansas, in Fog Allen. Arkansas is not going to have the luxury playing at Bud Walton for this game, but Arkansas can beat Arizona, but everyone's going to need to be firing on all cylinders. And they're going to need Nick Pringle to be healthy.
Okay, and right now he's nursing a hamstring. He did not play in round 1 or round 2 of the tournament.
And it wasn't much of a, against Hawaii, it wasn't a big deal, but it was noticeable in the second round against High Point. And High Point didn't have NBA players in their front court. They had Cameron Fletcher, former, Kentucky flameout, who then transferred to Florida State. So it's just a different caliber of player that Arkansas is going to be facing.
If I had to point out a weakness of Arizona, and really they don't have a weakness, but it would be their defense against the 3-point shot. If Arkansas can hit a lot of threes, they got a shot.
Yeah, they're going to have to hit.
I like this game. Arkansas, they won in Portland, but they didn't go back to Fayetteville after winning in Portland. They went to Sacramento, and they're going to stay in Sacramento until they go to San Jose, where this game is going to be played.
Well, I just hope their studies don't suffer.
They're gonna be 4-point grades in all of their classes, man, because they're not like North Carolina, JJ. They actually go to class to make those 4 points.
Are you sure about that? I don't know. Well, they haven't gotten caught.
Well, you know what? I'm banking on them playing. I'm banking on Arkansas playing the upset. What say you?
Well, I'm wearing a Mike Bibby Grizzlies jersey.
Never heard of him.
And he was the most outstanding player the last time Arizona won, the one and only time Arizona won the championship.
Okay.
And this is foreshadowing. I'm wearing this for a reason. I will be rooting for Arkansas heavily. I will be rooting for them.
Well, who will have the best player on the court? Arizona, all 5 of their players are averaging double digits, JJ. And Arkansas, for some reason, defense has always been optional when they play basketball.
Yeah. Defense has been optional, and it will not be for this game. They'll have to show up. Everyone will. It's going to have to be a team effort.
Let me ask you this question. If Arkansas win, will they shock the world?
No, they're a 4 seed that won the SEC tournament. I don't think it's like an earth-shattering upset if they were to win. I mean, they have Darius Acuff, who will be a top 5 pick. They have Malik Thomas, who will be a top first-round pick.
Both freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, they have NBA talent.
Does that matter, JJ, the inexperience of Arkansas? These 2 freshmen, they're leading their team.
I mean, it does and it doesn't. I don't think, I think Darius Acuff has been one of the 2 best freshmen in the country this year. So I think at this point, and at this juncture in time, you're 30-some games in, you can't be talking about experience at this point. You've been in these situations. For the most part, similarly to Arizona. I mean, Burries and Pete are freshmen, and they're 2 of their top players as well for Arizona. So, it's a similar situation. They just they play a little bit more disciplined. They play a little bit more with a little bit more defensive intensity, and they play with a little bit more height. So that is
more physical, more height.
Yeah,
they're bigger, they're stronger.
So Arkansas is going to have to make shots.
Athletic. Okay, you're right. 3-point. That's what it's going to take. Hey, let's go to another game in the West. SEC versus the Big Ten. Texas, a 11 seed versus 2 seed Purdue. Does Texas have a chance?
Absolutely have a chance. Purdue, Purdue is incredibly matchup dependent because of the way that they play, and just because of their personnel. The way Trey Kaufman-Renn plays, I mean, he's an All-American, but plays incredibly physical.
Purdue's
Power forward, yeah. He plays incredibly, sometimes center. He plays incredibly physical, and
yes, he does.
Depending on the whistle that he gets, if he gets a ref that doesn't, want to enable that, that really jeopardizes their first option, because that is their first option. Fletcher Loyer has been notoriously inconsistent all the time.
Yes, he has, but he was hot the other day.
He scored 24 points on Sunday.
Yeah.
He only missed one shot on the way to doing so, but he's just as likely to go over, honestly. Like, he really, if you look at his box scores, he's incredibly volatile. He's up and down. Braden Smith played maybe his worst game in the NCAA tournament last
Purdue's
Sunday. Yeah, he had like 8 turnovers. Now a lot of that was because of Miami and like the chaotic defense that Jai Lucas deploys, but Texas has some guys. Like, they have some athleticism.
They're the highest team remaining, the highest seeded team remaining,
And they have a former Purdue Boilermaker on their team.
Who?
The guy who hit the game-winning shot. He hadn't scored up until that point. Cam Heide, he transferred in from Purdue.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Texas is the only team still playing that has won 3 games in the NCAA tournament this year.
Because they were an 11 seed.
And they did the play-in game.
Yeah.
So they've won 3 games. They get Purdue. What's Texas' weakness?
Consistency. I mean, they're an 11 seed. They're the only double-digit seed left, are they not?
If Texas beat Purdue, would that be a shock?
Not even a little bit.
No.
Purdue. I didn't have Purdue. I had Miami beating Purdue, and in the first half, Miami was up. This is the first time Purdue has won an NCAA tournament game where they were losing at half in like the last 5 or 6 times. So, Purdue, I honestly have not been impressed with them at all. They were the preseason number 1, and before entering the Big Ten tournament, I thought that they were a 4 seed, not even a 3 seed. They won the Big Ten tournament and elevated themselves up to a 2 seed. But no, I think if Texas can beat Gonzaga, NC State I'm not as impressed with, but if Texas can beat Gonzaga,
Texas big man has really come on as of late in my mind. He's not nearly as physical as Purdue will be. He's more finesse player, but it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold his own against Purdue. If he does, I think Texas can pull the upset. If Purdue dominates on the inside, game over for Texas. They don't have a shot. That's my prediction. JJ, but before I move on to Purdue, it just dawned on me. I want to talk about one other before I move on and go to another game, I want to skip the Sweet 16 and go to a first round matchup. Tell me, Wisconsin matched up with number 5 High Point.
Number 12 High Point.
Number 12. 5 and 12. What has been Wisconsin's history against 12 seeds?
They've beaten a 12 seed once.
Really?
Yeah, it was in 2003.
Okay. Have they ever lost to a 12 team other than this year?
Well, they're on a 5-game losing streak to 12 seeds currently in the NCAA tournament, but you never know. I mean, this
a 5-game losing streak to 12 seeds.
Yeah, and overall they're 1-6 against 12 seeds. But this is the first time against a 12 seed where they lost the game, and it wasn't by double digits. So they only lost by
1 point.
Yeah, so
it was a 1 point game.
You look at it like they're making a lot of progress.
That was just a stat that just fascinated me, that they could be 1-6 against 12 seeds, but that's a.
I mean, they are pretty much keeping that whole 5-12 narrative going themselves at this point. Now they're usually not a 5 seed, and if I was a Wisconsin fan, I would like legitimately throw something if I got a 5 seed again.
Lose a game in purpose to become a 6 seed.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
I'd rather be a 6 seed than a 5 seed. I'd be a 7 seed than a 5 seed. If I'm Wisconsin at this point, I would just
Let's go to
avoid
Chicago for the Sweet 16, JJ. Let's go to Chicago. And in Chicago, the number 1 seed in Chicago is that school in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
Do they have any competition? They play in Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama blew Texas Tech out the water. They were hitting shots from everywhere.
Without their number 2 scorer.
Without the number 2 scorer, yeah.
So
yeah, and another G League All-Star.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Alabama, they are so weak in the middle that they, for a few games, had an ineligible, who's currently been ruled ineligible, G League player playing center for them. I think it's about 5 games he played in, and now he's
Charles Badiako, he's back in that G League now.
He's back in the G League, and their Alabama weakness is in the middle. So, and Michigan's strength actually is in the middle.
Oh yeah, I mean Michigan has a lot of strengths, but yeah, like this is not a good matchup for Alabama at all. This is this is a very bad matchup for Alabama.
Can Alabama keep it under 20?
Yeah, I mean they can keep the margin at 12 or 6 even, but they're not going to win. I don't think.
What can they do to win?
Shoot like they did against Texas Tech. That's really what they have to do. They have to be unconscious. They were like 19 for 42. They're gonna have to shoot over 35% from 3, and you're gonna have to take a high volume of threes. Agreed. But and the problem is Michigan
they take high volumes of threes.
The problem, but they don't play Michigan very often. Michigan's one of the best 3-point defensive teams in the country.
But Michigan did let Wisconsin get loose on threes.
Yeah,
when they lost to Wisconsin.
They did, but Wisconsin had their best player and their second best player available to them. John Blackman and Nick Boyd. And Nick Boyd went crazy in that game. Alabama does not have their best 3-point shooter by far. He's by far the best 3-point shooter. He's 44% and at the highest volume of anybody. And he's not available because of the 2 pounds of marijuana that he just smokes that he doesn't sell. But yeah, he's not available. And I think had he been available, that really could have changed the math and it really could have tilted things. But because he's not available, even if they were to shoot like that against Michigan, I just don't think that. I just think it's different with Yaxel. I mean, Yaxel is as fast as pretty much every point guard that's left remaining, but he's 6'8". They call him Dominican LeBron for a reason.
Question to me, and I'm confused. Mm-hmm. Does he play guard? Does he play forward? Axel, the guy from Michigan.
He plays basketball. At the end of the day, they say you play the position that you guard, and he guards the point guard, but he doesn't bring the ball up. I mean, basketball isn't as rudimentary as it used to have been. I got you. At this,
he's an awesome player, and I think he had 24 in the last game.
And he really unlocks their 3 big lineup because he can be so frustrating on point guards. I mean, he's going like LeBaron Philon is.
For Alabama.
Yeah, LeBaron Philon is in for a nightmare because the way Wisconsin beat Michigan was because they had Nick Boyd and John his last name is John Blackman as pressure releases. Nick Boyd, they both had over 20 points, and if they were ever trying to send a double at Boyd, Blackman was right there on the wing. He could swing around to for a 3.
Alabama is 4-4 against the current field with wins over St. John, Illinois, and Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to write Alabama off, but
they just beat Texas Tech by 30-something points.
True. But I will agree with you. I would pick Michigan in this game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is similar to St. Louis. St. Louis, they beat Georgia by 40.
Yeah. And then Michigan's killed.
But they, at the end of the day, you look at their personnel, there's no way St. Louis could do anything. LeBaron Philon's a very good player, but he won't be one of the 3 best players on the court when they play. And I don't know.
JJ, is this the year that the Big Ten win it all?
Unless Arizona joins the Big Ten. No, I don't think so. But I would love to be wrong.
Okay, JJ, do we have time for another game, or do we need to get out of here? Because it's getting late.
We have 1 or 2 quick.
Okay, we got Nebraska and Iowa, Illinois and Houston, Tennessee and Iowa State. Which one of those games you want to talk about?
Whichever one you want to talk about.
Well, Iowa and Nebraska. Iowa has already beaten Nebraska once this year.
And Nebraska's beaten Iowa once.
That's true, so it's 1-1. Let's go to Illinois and Houston. To me, that's a 3 against a 2 in Houston.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's a bad matchup for both teams. Just the size of Illinois versus the physicality
both
of Houston.
Got a great freshman.
Yeah. Keaton Waggler versus Kingston Flemings. Yeah.
Yep, Fleming for Houston. I can't pronounce his name. It's not Wagner. How do you pronounce his name?
Waggler
For Illinois. Two dynamic freshmen who will both be lottery picks. Agree?
Probably.
Okay. And it's in Houston. I'm thinking Houston will have the crowd on their side. Illinois got the hype. The two brothers, Ivanovich, I can't pronounce their name.
Yeah.
For Illinois, they're going to present a problem for Houston.
Not just them. I mean, they have size everywhere. They have. I mean, their point guard is 6'6", and he's the shortest. Like, they're gonna present issues for Houston.
Give me a winner in that game.
Houston. It's at Houston, and they're more athletic and physical.
I'm gonna go with Houston as well.
But it should be a really good matchup.
Well, JJ, we're not going to talk about them, but give me your winner really quickly, and we're going to get out of here. Iowa, Nebraska for the second time.
The story, I'd love to see Nebraska make it.
I'm going with Iowa all the way. In Tennessee and Iowa State.
Iowa State
a 2 seed versus. Okay.
I mean, Iowa State, their best player, they didn't have their best player against Kentucky, and they beat them by about 20. Iowa State, I think, if they get their best player, should handle.
Iowa State beat Purdue this year. They beat St. John's this year. I go with Iowa State in that one as well. And JJ, with that, I'm ready to get out of here and wait for Thursday to come when the Razorbacks shock the world by knocking off Arizona.
Well,
what say you?
I am ready for that to happen as well. I don't think I will be as shocked as you or the quote-unquote world, but, I'm ready for it to happen.
WPS. Whoopig Suey. What you got, JJ?
Whoopig.
All right. Can you